welcome back to the homestead. Today is part 2 of building a concrete ford across our creek. And just to be clear, for those who don't know what this is all about, this ford is so that our son Joshua will have vehicle access to his property, which is on the other side of our creek. It's not a heavy flowing creek, but it does flow year round, and so there's always water going through there. And up until this point, we've just kind of walked on stepstones to get across. Wheelers can go across, even our four-wheel drive truck could usually get across, but this way larger vehicles like gravel and cement trucks and things like that will be able to get across, so that as he's building his home, there will be a good way to access that side of the creek. We do also hope to eventually put in a footbridge, that way we don't have to get our feet wet crossing over, but that's down the road, so maybe in the future you'll see a footbridge build too.
that good, Joseph? Well, Josh, must be a blessing and a relief to have that done, huh?
For sure.
Yeah. How would you say the whole process went?
Process went well. Definitely a very large learning curves. Definitely some mistakes along the way, and a lot of blessing for sure. I was super thankful. 2 days I had quite a few men and brothers, including my brothers, come out and help me out and spend whole days just working on it. Because ultimately, the forming of it and getting all of ultimately all the forming and figuring out where all the concrete is going to lay with the angle like that took a lot longer than I was thinking it would. And that was very challenging. I was thankful to have a brother who's a concrete worker with me here who's able to help with that a bunch. He's able to kind of manage that stuff a bit better. Stuff that I just ultimately didn't know what I was doing. One big lesson we did learn is make sure your grading is correct. Unfortunately, there were some miscommunications with the earth workers, and they came out and did it, but it was done incorrectly. And you know, I talked to them. My dad talked to them actually. I talked to them as well. He came out and did his best job to try and fix it, but it was still just made things really difficult. It was ultimately just a miscommunication. The earth worker did his best to try to come out and fix it. It was like 11 o'clock at night. He was here trying to help fix the situation. But make sure you get your earthwork, if you're doing something like this, correct the first time. Communicate well. Make sure it's all properly laid out and make everything else go so much more smoothly. Ultimately, it made it, because of how the earthwork was done, it made it so I had to lift up the bridge a bit higher than I was originally thinking. That just means more management later on, so that's not ideal, but all in all, it still ended up really well. So very thankful, very blessed. That's a massive step to finally have a ford to get across the creek. And then there are also spiritual lessons along the way that I was just super blessed by, and Yah working with me and helping me. In the beginning with the earthwork, I had a moment where I was quite frustrated because I was, hard to explain the whole situation, but I was in the creek digging a ditch to try to get the water out of the footers because water was flooding into the footers. And I was all angrily, very aggravatedly digging, but Yah just kept like impressing on me, pray. And like first I was like, no, I gotta keep digging. And then again, pray. Nope, I gotta keep digging. Pray. And finally I stopped, sat down. It's like, oh, Father, my mind is not in the right place. Please forgive me, Yah. And it's like right there, Yah just said like, okay, I forgive you. Now move on. And after that, he helped me to move on with joy, with hope, with a proper attitude. I was just very thankful, like just so blessed, like his mercy in that situation and just teaching me that lesson ultimately, that we're going to make mistakes. Ultimately, it's not our goal to make mistakes, but we're going to make mistakes. And when we make a mistake, we must humble ourselves. And yes, Father, I made the mistake. Please forgive me. And then he forgives us, and we need to move on in strength and do our best to do better. So that was really encouraging to me, as well as a moment where I thought I wasn't going to have enough finances. Again, because of the earthwork, it seemed like it was going to take so much concrete that I maybe wasn't going to have enough. But then one of my friends came up with a solution of putting gravel in some areas that would have otherwise had to been filled with concrete. That would have been unnecessary, and that helped save a lot of money. So praise Yah, I had enough to finish it. Ultimately, I feel very blessed. I think Yah was using it, has been using it for good. I think it's hopefully going to give me and Yahweh and my family a lot of use in the future.
Yeah, praise Yah. Alright, that's about all we have for you guys today. Thank you for joining us as we went on the adventure of building this fort here. As always, thank you to our patrons that make these videos possible. And thank you to all of you who've watched through the whole video all the way to this point here. If you want, you can put down in the comments below in all caps, through and through, and we'll know you've watched the video to this point. Oh, and kids, just to let you know, trucks don't actually talk and aren't living. This is just edited. Alright, yep, thank you to all of you who've made it all the way through this video. Whatever you do, do it with your whole heart.